Kat Matlala is back on the witness stand. He alone is of the view that he's being investigated and so holds the view that he cannot respond to certain questions.
He was trying to avoid questions about relationships he had, with people in government and with criminal underworld figures and people like that.
All of this is showing a network web that is involving politics, that is involving businessmen, and that is involving a criminal network.
This is the Political Show.
Hey, and welcome to the Political Show right here on Active FM, where radio has never been better. I'm your girl Cynthia, but you can call me Gix, and with me in studio we have
Gavin Enslin.
Pastor Gavin Enslin, right here on the Political Show, where Christ politics is
Hot politics.
Hot politics. And this week's Hot Politics, we are looking at the testimony of Vusimuzi Kat Matlala before the Madlanga Commission. Obviously, that his testimony centers on addressing the allegations regarding his involvement in irregularities, political influence, peddling, and ties to criminal networks. Pascal, do you want to give a more brief explanation?
Big words on a big show. We're struggling with these words. Today's show should be entitled "Who Let the Cat," as in K-A-T, out of the bag. You know what I'm saying? Who let the cat out of the bag? And Kat Matlala didn't want to testify, and Kat Matlala's got so many cases. It's him and Julius Mkonazi from the Ekurhuleni Municipal Police Department have got so many cases and charges and things going on. I mean, these guys, I'm not sure if they're ever going to see the light of day. And Kat Matlala was doing everything in his power to get out of testifying, and he had his lawyer there, Ms. Van der Heever, sitting there, saying that he doesn't want to answer questions about this due to the fact that, he doesn't want to incriminate himself and all that sort of stuff. But under South African law, we don't have the Fifth Amendment. So if you've been charged and you're on trial, then you can assert your right not to incriminate yourself. But it's got to be a current court case. And he was trying to avoid questions about relationships he had, with people in government and with criminal underworld figures and people like that. And he tried to assert that he doesn't want to incriminate himself. And the Commissioner Kamalo in particular came back and said to him, but at the end of the day, you're on trial for attempted murder. You talking about the relationships you have with all of these people has got nothing to do with that case. He was trying to make out like it was, and he was instructed to give testimony. And I'm sure he held stuff back. I'm sure he answered as little as possible. But oh my word, bombshell stuff came, and this Madlanga Commission, in terms of controversy, is just the gift that keeps on giving, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. So that is what we're going to be speaking about. It's going to be awesome, as always, right here on the Political Show, where Christ politics is
Hot politics.
Hot politics. So we are looking at the testimony of Kat Matlala. When we look at his testimony so far, in terms of Medicare 24 and the SAPS tender, he's being questioned about the controversial 228 million rand SAPS healthcare tender awarded to Medi24, and the commission is investigating alleged irregularities, corruption, and how the contract was obtained and managed. And Kat Matlala has frequently refused to answer detailed questions, citing his right against self-incrimination. He's testified about financial relationships with various businessmen. He said businessman Suleiman Karim loaned him about 15 million, and he also testified that he and the businessman Hangwani, how do you pronounce his surname? Maumela, Hangwani Maumela, excuse me, had a pool of funds intended to secure government contracts. He also acknowledged, now I'm just going over like
he puts an
key
example.
things in
So
his testament.
They each put 1 million.
Okay.
So these guys, they just put 1 million in.
Yeah.
And then when people order, then they just get the goods, and then it comes off their account. So
Yeah.
like just 1 million rand. These are really regular guys.
So just going over some more of the stuff he's testified, he acknowledged a relationship with political intermediary Brown Mokhotsi, and he said that he had asked him for money and that he gave him 20,000 rand. And Matlala later said that he discovered that Mokhotsi was not actually an official in Bekitele's office. And with regards Bekitele, what's this? Vusimuzi Cat Matlala testified about his relationship with the former police minister, and he alleged that 500,000 rand was paid to Bekitele. He further alleged that Tsele wanted to use Medicare 24 and Brown Mokhotsi to implicate Senzo Mchunu, and Matlala also said that Tsele arranged his meeting with Ntlantla Mukonazi. And then with regards Zenzo Mchunu, and I'm just quickly going through some of the key
he said that he
aspects.
met with Mukonazi because his contract had been cancelled.
Yeah.
And then one of the generals told him, I think it was General Sonolo, told him that it's PKTT that is investigating and making inquiries and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's as a result of them that his contract got cancelled.
Yeah, but there are so many names that are just being mentioned here. Then we've got Senzo Mchunu, and Kat Matlala says that he does not know Senzo Mchunu personally. Probably, if I pronounce the surname incorrectly, I apologize. I apologize. But he says that he does not know him personally and he has never met him. His evidence about Mkunu largely comes through what he says Tsele told him. Then with regards to Ntlantla Mukonazi, Matlala confirmed meeting the KZN Police Commissioner, Lieutenant General Ntlantla Mukonazi. He said the meeting concerned problems with Medicare 24's SAPS contract, and Matlala wanted Mukonazi to help him get assistance with the contract. He also described former KZN Hawks boss, Major General Sinona, as a close, almost brotherly figure. And he said that Sinona lent him 20,000 rand after a police raid, and there was also discussion involving his son and a possible 2 to 3 million rand property deal. All right, and then there's also Shadrach Sibia.
He was buying a property for Sonolo's son.
Yeah.
Just out of the goodness of his heart.
Just out of the goodness of his heart.
Like for Christmas.
Yeah, just because we are brotherly figures, And then we've got Shadrach Sibia. One of the biggest revelations was Matlala's evidence about payments allegedly made to suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner Shadrach Sibia. Matlala said he discussed these payments with Mukonazi. Importantly, Matlala said that the payments were made by other people and not by him. Then we've got Fanny Nkosi. Matlala identified Sergeant Fanny Nkosi as someone who allegedly acted as an intermediary in relation to money for Sibia. This is particularly significant because Nkosi himself previously gave evidence about relationships between Matlala and senior police officials. Then we've got the 20 Impalas. They always has to do something with game.
Yes. Same as Pala.
It's just same as Pala.
The Impala.
All right. The commission also had questioned Matlala about allegations that 20 live Impalas were given to Sibia. And these questions still remain as allegations and are being tested by the commission. Then we've got Jotham Msibi. Matlala admits knowing the late taxi boss Jotham Msibi.
Again,
yes.
And Julius Malema. Who was it? Kenny Kuneni said that Julius Malema was a regular at CB's farm.
Yeah.
And also Julius Malema spoke at his funeral because he's passed away. It's funny how all the big 5 accusations are being levied at a guy that's dead.
Do you understand? He can't testify for himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's guilty of everything now.
Yeah.
Case closed.
And he Matlala admits and says that he provided security services to him. However, he denies being part of the alleged criminal network. And then there's Matlala admits meeting Molefe at Msibi's property, but he denies having a business or operational relationship with Molefe. And he says he and Maumela, Hangwani Maumela, became friends through their shared interest in sports cars. He acknowledged
they met at a restaurant and then went to the parking lot and marveled at each other's cars.
Yeah. No.
Like just out of the blue,
Complete
you meet someone at a restaurant
strangers.
and you both go look at your cars.
Yeah.
And then you get this deep friendship where you going and making millions of rands out of a government hospital.
Yeah, so he acknowledges that their business relationship and pool of money for government contracts. He also maintains that Maumelo was not involved in criminal activities. So then it comes down to the Big 5 cartel. Matlanga denies being part of the alleged Big 5 criminal network. And
Matlanga.
Not Matlanga, excuse
Matlala.
me. Matlala. Excuse me for that. Definitely.
I heard it here first.
No,
Matlanga may be part of the Big 5.
No, he's not. You did not hear this. Hear it here first, right? The commission is so Matlanga's commission is testing whether his numerous relationship with businessmen, politicians, and police officials represent legitimate business or social relationship or something more serious. So here's the thing over in terms of his whole testimony and the questions and allegations against him is that it's uncovering 3 overlapping networks. Money, which is the Medicare 24, government tenders, businessmen, and alleged payments. We've got politics, which is Matlala, Brown, Mokgotsi, Bekitele, and allegations involving Senzo Nkunu. And then we've got the police and criminal network, Matlanga, senior police officials, alleged payments and intermediaries, and the Big 5 allegations. So all of this is showing a network web that is involving politics, that is involving businessmen, and that is involving a criminal network. Pastor Gav, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, my question is, so we're looking at this whole Medicare 24, deal. So basically, what the evidence seems to be showing, and obviously there's still got to be a finding made on this by the commission. So these are allegations. Just want to mention that up front, is that these guys are receiving a contract of 360 million, and out of this contract that they're getting for Medicare 24, which is for medical stuff relating to the police services, they're using the same Medicare 24 to pay political and other figures bribes. Now, my question is, out of the money that you're making, you're paying the bribes. What are the bribes actually for? The other thing is a lot of this stuff that has come out is related to fraud that was taking place at the Kempton Park Government Hospital, which is a relatively small hospital. If you take here in the Johannesburg area, because obviously Kempton Park is in the greater Johannesburg area, if you take this city, you've got Charlotte Matlala, which used to be known as the Johannesburg General Hospital, and also the Chris Hani Baragwanath Hospital, which are gigantic in comparison to any other hospital in the whole of Gauteng. In fact, probably almost in the whole country. I cannot believe that you've got this much corruption going on at a hospital around Kempton Park, and that Morgan Maumela, I mean, they're talking about something like, what is it, 2 billion or something that was stolen there, if you know what I'm saying. So if you go into most of these hospitals, they don't have bedding, they often don't have medicine and all sorts of things like this. And now you look at this incredible web of people all involved, in this stuff, going right up to the Minister of Police. And then you've got the ex-Minister of Police trying to implicate the current Minister of Police, for wrongdoing. But the ex-Minister of Police received 500,000 rand, according to Kat Matlala. Now, he also admitted himself, Becky Tele, that is when he appeared before the ad hoc committee in Parliament, he admitted to staying in Kat Matlala's luxury apartment on the KwaZulu-Natal North Coast. And so Kat Matlala saying he gave basically Becky Tele 500,000 rand, and Becky Tele gave him access to role players in the investigation and the net that was closing in around him. So in other words, he was promising, give me 500,000 rand, and then I'm going to help you get out of this mess. In terms of this, we then see that Kat Matlala now trying to pay people money, to get him out of trouble. And I'm just talking now from what I've seen. Seems like he got into financial trouble.
Yeah.
And it seems to me, and this hasn't even come up much, he then goes to Suleiman Karim. And Suleiman Karim gives him cash. Karim tries to claim that it's a loan. But then they surprised him and came up with more transactions from his own books. And Suleiman Karim since then has done absolutely everything in his power not to testify, by being sick. So he's medically indisposed. But meanwhile, he's sauntering around at Woolworths coffee shop in the Western Cape with an entire entourage of people. He's been seen at numerous gatherings in the Northwest Province while he's unable to testify at the Matlala Commission. The thing is, Gigs, I haven't heard of his arrest. The fact that he hasn't been arrested for the way that he avoided testifying, to me personally, is extremely distressing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, and maybe we should look into this. Maybe you can provide a comment, but Matlanga, I thought, would have the power to issue an arrest warrant for contempt of the commission. To my mind, he's got the power to do that. And I'd like to know why he hasn't, because, Gigs, if you or I were having to appear before Matlanga, and we did what Suleiman Karim did, I'm telling you now, they'd lock us up and throw the key away.
Yeah.
Kat Matlala himself said he used to use the money from Medicare 24, to send that on to, to government officials and things like that. And then you just look at that, they talk about the big five cartel. Now, obviously, Jotham Mswazi Msibi, that's the taxi boss. So he was obviously involved. He was quite a linchpin. But when they talk about the big five, I can't believe that Angani Maumela or Jotham and CB are the guys. Katie Malifa neither. If you look at the fact that General Masamolo actually said in Parliament that Kenny Kunene, who's obviously been making a big noise about Julius Malema, and he was found not once, according to General Masamola, but twice in Katie Malifa's house. And you start looking at this and you're saying, you know what, there's a lot of spider webs going out here. But the thing is, at the end of the day, I don't think they're even scratching the surface of what's really going on. We've spoken recently about that refugee with ISIS links who was brought back into the country. Bypassing the customs and excise, and passport control points, within the airport. What this is showing, that whatever you think the South African government, judicial and corporate structures are, whatever you think they are, is a lie. All right, there's something far more sinister that is going on. And at the end of the day, I'm wondering how the country is even standing, and I see the country, standing up and shouting the lyrics of the old Elton John song, which says, basically, I think Savia is saying, I'm a miracle, I'm still standing. Look at all this corruption, look at all this cancer. One of the things also, in terms of Kat Matlala, he did say that Becky Tele lied under oath about the reasons for their closeness, about why they were close. My goodness, I don't think Senzom Kun is innocent. I'm not even sure about the extent of the innocence of General Mkonazi. Kat Matlala did point one or two fingers at him, saying that he was meeting with Mkonazi because Mkonazi was, was trying to cover up someone who got seriously assaulted and wounded by the political killing stars team, and Mkonazi wanted to make the whole thing go away, and so all of these stories are going out, and obviously you mentioned about the original bid, for the Medi 24 contract, which was 228 million original bid, but 50 million had already been paid. Um, then there was one other thing. The one brigadier lady, who's a brigadier, um, Rachel Mateng. Now, apparently and I think she's been arrested, if I'm not mistaken. But she was facilitating unnecessary medical examinations for police officers in order to make Medi 24 money.
Sure.
So and I
Yeah.
mean she's on trial for that as far as I know.
So it's quite a hectic thing, and when you start looking at the network and the interrelationships that are happening, and also being exposed through his testimony. Obviously, he's trying not to testify, if I would put it that way.
No, he's tried to say nothing, and
Yeah.
they've basically forced him to talk.
Yes, but even in the trying not to say anything, you actually seeing how it goes into like the political figures. It goes into criminal networks and stuff. And even if he denies to be part of the big five criminal cartel, there is some sort of criminal network that he's allegedly involved in, because I can't make a definite statement on that. But when you start looking at the interrelations and the web itself, you get to start asking then, what is the point of the so-called BEE rules that they're putting so that they can empower black people, or that they can empower business people and all of this stuff, where you have businessmen like Kat Matlala who are making money with those political figures, if you get what I'm saying. And in Proverbs 19 verse 11, it says, smart people know how to hold their tongues. Their grandeur is to forgive and forget.
I think Kat Matlala has passed that point of being able to hold his tongues. In terms of holding your tongue, you've got to also hold your integrity. I was just looking at something in terms of the source of these criminal money flows. And you know what the source is, Gigs?
What?
One of them is tender fraud and procurement corruption. So you were talking about BEE.
Yeah.
And what you're using is a fake measure to solve a fake problem. And you end up with a fake economy. And then you have what they call tenderpreneurs. And because it must be black guys can get into, and I'm talking about black South African guys or girls, they can get into all sorts of businesses, and they can get it as front people. Where they go to another business, they become a middleman between the government entity, like a hospital or whatever, and a genuine producer. And the only reason that middleman, who's now adding additional profit on, is needed is because of the whole BEE regulations. And by the way, when I say that, I'm not saying that there's no black South Africans that know how to make businesses. There are some extremely successful businessmen, black businessmen in South Africa and women, but none of them are involved in this stuff. The really successful people are involved in the free economy. They also are extortion and protection rackets. And that's obviously just, out and out gangster type activity. And there's armed groups and all sorts of things involved in this. Organized crime syndicates, the so-called Big Five, and drug trafficking. A lot of this is related to drugs. And then the abuse of state resources. So, where people in power are actually abusing state resources, and they're using things like front companies, private security firms, militias, private security firms, sheltered bank accounts, cash malls, where they shift cash and things like that, and other things like that. And when you sit down and you have a look at all of this, you need to really be careful what you get involved in. And even in terms of that thing, holding your tongue, who you speaking to, who you getting ideas from business from. Sometimes people come to you with an idea and you can make a whole lot of cash. And I know there were a lot of these schemes going around during COVID-19 with the personal protective equipment and all of this stuff. And the thing is, when you start hearing about these deals and all of a sudden out of nowhere you can make a couple of million rand. The thing is, you got to remember the Bible, and you've got to remember what the Word of God declares. And you've got to keep your honesty and your integrity. You have no idea what you're getting involved in. No idea. If someone phones you up and they promise that you're going to make money from something, the first question you got to ask yourself, if this is true, if it's not a scam, because often these things are scam, people scam you out of your money. But the first thing you got to ask yourself, is the money these guys are offering to make you legal? And you really got to sit down and think about that. And the people who were receiving the money, were senior police and law enforcement officials. They're on the take. And we know this, we hear all the time. I mean, there are massive gang wars going on in what South Africans call the coloured areas. Coloured are people of mixed races. And there's huge gang wars going on, especially to the south of Johannesburg, areas like Eldorado Park and Annandale and places like that, and also to the west, places like Westbury and then to the east, Rache Park. There's huge activity going on, and the police are on the take. So therefore, the gangsters have infiltrated the police and they're on the take. And then government and municipal officials, political figures and leaders, we're talking about provincial ministers, so what they call MECs. We're talking about mayors, executive mayors. We're talking about people that are important in political parties. And that's where Suleiman Karim had inserted himself within the Northwest Northwest Province structures of the ANC. And then obviously there's organized crime leaders and kingpins and all of this kind of stuff. And I mean, a guy like Julius Malema is not immune from this. Cyril Ramaphosa is not immune from this. All right. Jacob Zuma was all over the news with the Guptas, but I'm not sure how bad that was. I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, the media made it look very bad, but I'm not sure. And the thing is, look at what this is doing to the country. And it's no different in the United States, where I watch from afar and I just listen to news and I listen to how people argue about their elections. And, the arguments that are put forward there are arguments of people that are unscrupulous, that have absolutely and utterly no moral value. So basically the lesson from this is, if an opportunity comes knocking at your door, I really want to encourage you to go to look at the Word, go and study the Word and go and see, does this line up with God's Word? And also make sure you have a relationship with God, because God will speak to you by your heart peace as to whether you do something or not. The other thing is, even if it doesn't land you up in trouble, with the law, you could end up being scammed. And if you rely on God and you rely on His wisdom, He will warn you, in your heart that, listen, there's a scam coming here. And the reason why scams work is because they set up a very good story that is very convincing. And so I'd encourage you, make sure you're close with the Lord. And don't get caught up in stuff, because if you look at Cat Matlala now, I mean, there's so many potential charges and current charges circling around him, and even the attempted murder charge could land him easily in South Africa to life imprisonment, which means 25 years. So, he's in a heap of trouble. Yeah. And walk the way of the Lord, and then watch what He does in your life.
This has been an amazing show, as always, right here on the Political Show on Active FM. And yes, we do see your comments, so keep commenting below your thoughts. We really love hearing what you have to say. I'm your girl Cynthia, but you can call me Gigs. And with me in studio we've had
Gavin Ensland.
Pastor Gavin Ensland, right here on the Political Show, where Christ politics is
hot politics.
Hot politics.
This is the Political Show.